Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GameClock, your new favorite sports show. I'm your host, Michael Pales, and today we're going to be breaking down Week 17, looking at playoff implications and all that has to offer, and taking a look at Week 18 and what teams might be able to make it into the playoffs, what teams might not, and my predictions for who ends up getting the number one overall draft pick. So, let's get started as we get into the first quarter. Let's get this clock rolling as we get going into Week 17. Now, Week 17 was a bit of a weird week. We had games on 4 different days. We had a game on, obviously, Thursday for Christmas. We had games on Saturday. We had games on Sundays. And then we had games last night, which was an instant classic if anyone had a chance to catch it. So let's start with the Cowboys-Commanders. This was Christmas Day at 11 o'clock, pretty early game. This game was kind of handled before it even started. It was a game that you saw Dak play well. George Pickens showed his expertise at being able to deliver the ball to his pass catchers like CeeDee Lamb, like George Pickens. But this game was done and dusted when we knew that Jayden Daniels was shut down for the season and the Commanders were pretty much selling it. They're done for the season. This team does not have the defense to handle the high pass attack that the Cowboys were able to deliver. And as a result, we saw the Cowboys win on Christmas. Vikings and Mac Brosmer beats the Lions in Detroit. This game, a Christmas Day miracle for the Vikings. They get a win with Max Brosmer in a situation that you would not have expected them to win in. This is a game that was probably a game that most people looked at and were like, nah, this is going to be the Lions. The Lions are going to win this. They're still going to have a chance at the playoffs. But no, the Lions lose out in their chances of making the playoffs because they lose to a team that is below them and should not have lost. They shouldn't have lost to. And so this game really was a wake-up call for the Lions and is a question of, okay, their window might be shut. This is a team that when we looked at the money was going to be a team that their window was the last 3 years. And Jared Goff is getting older, he's getting more expensive, and we might be looking at the fall of the Detroit Lions as they might have to set up another rebuild, even though they still have the weapons. For the Vikings, this was exciting to see, but all it really did was hurt your draft stock. Plain and simple, this was a great pride game for them, but still don't know if J.J. McCarthy's the guy. Max Brosmer clearly is not the guy. There's a lot of questions up there in Minnesota. Broncos beat the Chiefs. This game was closer than it should have been. The Broncos continue to have games that are much closer than they ever should be considered. These games have continued to be games that the Broncos keep teams in with. They've won majority of their games by 1 score. This is not a team that you expect to go into the playoffs and be like, yeah, they're going to win those games. This is a team that I think is going to be a first-round exit. If they get the number 1 seed, which I don't think they're going to because the Patriots pretty much have it locked down, I think the Broncos are a first-round exit against a 7th seed team. And that's not something that everyone should be like, oh, that's expected. But understand the 7th seed team is going to be a Chargers team, is going to be a team that is a exceptional team that maybe has gotten hurt, maybe gotten beat up, might even be a Texans team that has one of the best defenses in the NFL. So when we're looking at it from that perspective, I think the Broncos are not a team I'd be scared of coming into the playoffs. The Chiefs, their season's over. Travis Kelce had probably had his last game in Arrowhead, and Andy Reid might be towards the end of his career. So it'll be interesting to see what they have going on. But outside of that, moving on to the Texans-Chargers. Texans pop out with a couple of really big touchdowns early on. And honestly, this was one of those games where you are showing that Justin Herbert is my MVP. He's not the MVP because that's going to be Drake May. But when it comes to a player that has been invaluable to his team, has been the only reason their team has been winning games, it is Justin Herbert. He has no protection. He is the worst O-line in the NFL. And yes, that's including the Cincinnati Bengals. That's including the Arizona Cardinals. They have the worst O-line in the NFL right now. And Justin Herbert is playing at an elite level. The reason that he's getting interceptions is not his fault. One of his interceptions, he literally throws it, goes through the hands of his wide receiver, and it was a perfectly placed ball that his wide receiver didn't catch and it gets picked off. Understand that Justin Herbert is doing everything for that organization and is not, and the losses are not a result of his play. He has been playing at a very high level. He's been playing at an MVP level. If he had a better O-line, he would be the clear MVP right now, but obviously that's going to go to Drake May. For the Texans, huge win. They needed this win to secure their chances, and I believe they clinched playoff berth with this win. And now we're looking at it and being like, hey, this team might be scary going into the playoffs. This is a team that I'd be scared of if I'm the Broncos, if I'm one of those higher seeds that maybe has not shown that they're the clear-cut winners. I think that if you're the Broncos, you're scared to, and you do not want to face this Texans team coming into January as we get into the NFL playoffs. This Texans team is one of the best defenses in the NFL, hands down. Ravens handled business against the Packers. This was Derrick Henry's game that we were like, oh, Derrick Henry is still King Henry. This game, he scored 4 touchdowns, 200 rushing yards. All the Packers needed to do to have a chance at winning the NFC North was handle business, beat the Ravens that I believe were without Lamar. And what happens? Derrick Henry scores 4 touchdowns on them, 200 yards, and now the Ravens still have a chance to make the playoffs. The Ravens have a chance to make the playoffs because a different team didn't handle business, and I'll talk more about that in a second. For the Packers, Malik Willis is still a competent starter, but this defense could not do anything against Derrick Henry. And I'll say it. I think Malik Willis is going to end up on a different team next year and be a starter. I think Malik Willis has shown signs of being a competent starter in the NFL. There is a very real possibility that I think he's going to get traded or to get traded for a second round pick or a third round pick to go to a team that is in need of a quarterback, maybe a bridge quarterback or something of the sort. A Cardinals team, maybe a Vikings team, maybe one of those teams that doesn't have a clear-cut number one starter that just needs a quarterback to hopefully try to push them over the hump. Buccaneers lose to the Miami Dolphins. This game for Baker was inexcusable. He threw picks. He was not handling the ball well. He was not playing like Baker Mayfield. He was playing like Baker with the Browns. He did not look like the Baker Mayfield we know and love when it came to early on in this season. Baker Mayfield was an early MVP candidate and since then has continued to go down. His team has not won games in clutch moments. And if the Falcons handle business against the New Orleans Saints, even if the Buccaneers win, the Panthers make it in. The Buccaneers don't even control their own destiny right now. They need the Saints and Tyler Shuck to win a game for them to make sure that they're secured in this season. And plain and simple, they should have handled business. Quinn Ewers, great game. Greg Dulcich had an outstanding game for a tight end in Miami. Mike McDaniels might be coaching his way into maintaining his job or at least getting a high-end offensive coordinator position come next season. For the Buccaneers, they need to handle business this upcoming Saturday, but we'll see how that goes. Patriots, they played the Jets. This was Drake May's MVP game. You know about Heisman moments in college football. This was Drake May's MVP moment. He had a 90% completion rating, 5 passing touchdowns, and he went off. I understand it's against the New York Jets. That doesn't matter. Putting up 42 points in the National Football League against a team any given Sunday is impressive. 90% completion rate is impressive. I believe he had a perfect passer rating of 158.3. Drake May is my MVP. There is nothing he could do, especially after what Matt Stafford put on in prime time. There's nothing you can tell me different that Drake May is not going to be the most valuable player in the NFL this season. The Browns beat the Steelers at home in Cleveland. This game means that it's a win or go home game for the Steelers for the AFC North. Now you may be asking, okay, what does that mean? Because the Ravens handled business against the Packers and the Steelers cared more about stopping Myles Garrett from breaking the sack record than they did about winning a football game, plain and simple, the Steelers are probably going to not make the playoffs with a winning record. And there's a chance that we could see a team in the NFC South make the playoffs with a losing record. We are going to see that. Unless the Panthers win, if the Panthers lose, there is a guarantee that it will be an 8-9 team in the playoffs as the 4th seed. Browns did handle business. Shador looked good, but I don't know if he's the answer. That's all I'll say about that. The Jaguars handled business against the Colts. It was a tough game. Phillip Rivers was making the right calls, was clearly orchestrating the offense. Let me tell you, it was great to see an old quarterback and the old ways of quarterbacking. He was commanding the offense like no quarterback does in the modern NFL. He was making audibles. He was making calls. It's like watching Peyton Manning, like watching Ben Roethlisberger, like watching Tom Brady. He is from that era where these guys controlled the offense, and it was great to see, but it was not enough to extinguish the Jacksonville Jaguars and the powered offense that Liam Cohen has been able to coach up. Jonathan Taylor played well. This team played well, but at the end of the day, you can't win, and Phillip Rivers is going to be benched for this final game for Riley Leonard, which means that if he does indeed not start, we are going to be seeing Phillip Rivers' start streak come to an end and probably his entire career come to an end, meaning that he will stand tied for number 3 in all-time consecutive starts with Bill Romanowski. Saints made a comeback against the Titans. The Titans came out and were firing like a team that I have not seen them play like. It was exceptional from the New Orleans Saints. And it was great to see them playing at a high level, but they did not play well early on, and we saw Cam Ward making plays that Cam Ward should be making. It is exciting to see him finally start stepping into his own. This is a rookie quarterback that everyone has not paid attention to, but it's because he's on a terrible team. It's not his fault that this team has sucked, but he has now elevated them. They almost took down a team that's hot and hotter than any stove ever could be. Let me tell you, sorry, the quarter's about to end, and we will get into the second quarter as we talk more about these matchups. Now, when it comes to the Saints, Tyler Shuck is the guy. I think that people thought that this team was a team that you're like, what on earth are you doing? Why are you picking a 26-year-old quarterback that played with Justin Herbert at Oregon, played at Louisville, didn't see much success in Louisville, pick him second overall? It's because the guy has a cannon and is clearly Kellen Moore's guy. This guy is playing out of his mind. They've gone on a multi-week win streak. This team is playing at a level of a playoff level team. This team is playing so much better than they played with Spencer Rattler, and it is clear that Tyler Shuck is their guy, and they don't need to draft a quarterback. They're not worried about quarterback. And that's the nice thing for the Saints, is that they're not worried about quarterback. They can put their draft picks into other teams, and that's very good. But this game, Tyler Shuck handled business with Chris Olave, who has been his primary target, and Chris Olave has had a renaissance. This man was a guy who was like, Rookie of the Year candidate. Garrett Wilson ended up winning it, but he was neck and neck with Garrett Wilson. And then we see him now with the New Orleans Saints, and Tyler Shuck, who's finally a competent quarterback for him, playing out of his mind. And so it's great to see Chris Olave seeing success again, and it's great to see Tyler Shuck leading this team. For the Titans, Cam Ward has been really, honestly, in the back end of the rookie race when it comes to Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has not been showing enough, really, but understand, he's on one of the worst teams in the NFL, and that's the thing, is that this team is a team that has no head coach, has had no help. And so for me, Cam Ward is still a guy that I'm like, I'm sold that he will be a good quarterback because I saw how he played. But you were still relying heavily on this team and organization being able to help him out. And I don't know if the Titans are going to be able to do that. Seahawks against the Panthers at home in Seattle. This game was neck and neck for a lot of the game, but then a couple of key interceptions and a couple of key turnovers led to Zach Charbonnet touchdowns, and it led to a Seahawks win, which means the number one overall seed's coming down to the last week of the NFL season, which is so exciting. It's going to be one of the best games of the NFL season, bar none. Understand that this Seahawks team, their defense is one of the top defenses, and some people might be, okay, why did the Buccaneers not handle business? Like, why are we seeing the Panthers not shore up the NFC South? Well, they played the Seattle Seahawks, who are a team that is either going to be the number 1 seed or the number 5 seed, but either way has 13 wins. And they're lost a close game that they fought hard in, and honestly, Tedero McMillan didn't show me a ton, and it was kind of sad to see. He honestly was, in my opinion, the better. He didn't perform the way he should have as a number 1 option in this Panthers team. But the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold played well. He did throw a couple of interceptions, but this running game, this defense, like this Seattle Seahawks team is a very well-rounded team, but they're not as hot as I would have liked them to be going into this. They obviously had the close overtime win, which felt like a lifetime ago against the Los Angeles Rams. But outside of that, this was a dominant win. Why do I have doubts about the Seattle Seahawks? Well, it's because Sam Darnold, this offense does not feel like a team that is an offense that's going to be putting up 40 points against teams in the playoffs. This team feels like a trap game. This team feels like they might be a first-round exit. I might eat my words. There's some weird things and conspiracies that people are talking about how whenever a new pope is elected, the Seattle Seahawks make the Super Bowl. Either way, this Seattle Seahawks team is a good team, but I don't know how good, because I don't know how they're going to handle it in the playoffs with a team that has been inexperienced in the playoffs. Let's say that. Sam Darnold went to the playoffs with a first-round exit last year with a 13-4 Vikings team that was very good. He won 13 games again this year. He is now with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't know if Sam Darnold is a playoff guy. We'll see, but it'll be interesting to see how he plays in the playoffs come 2 weeks or 3 weeks for them, because they'll have the first. Yeah, it depends. Cardinals, Bengals. Okay. I'm from Arizona. I would be a self-proclaimed Cardinals fan. We'll say that. The Arizona Cardinals are the worst franchise to be a fan of because they give you hope and then they just dash it away instantly. There's not a hope of like, oh, maybe this will be better. No, it doesn't matter. The Cardinals are a bad franchise and a bad team. Trey McBride is goated. Let me tell you, Trey McBride is fantastic. Trey McBride broke the single season reception record for tight ends this week against a team in a game where they lost 37-14 against the Cincinnati Bengals. They scored 14 points on one of the worst defenses in the NFL. And then the defense for the Cardinals said, yeah, let's give up 37 points. The Cardinals have been outscored 125. They have a point differential of 125 points that they've been outscored by in the past 5 games. This defense went from being a top defense that was holding teams like the Seahawks, like the 49ers, like the Rams, to low scores, 25, 24, 24, to giving up 40 points to these teams that should not be scoring 40 points. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow's having fun. Chase Brown is playing at a very high level, very competent level, which is great to see for the Cincinnati Bengals as they were worried about Joe Burrow and his success. Joe Burrow seems to be having fun again, and it'll be interesting to see what he chooses to do in the offseason and what the Cincinnati Bengals do to try to keep and retain Joe Burrow and make sure he doesn't demand a trade. Giants, Raiders. This game, I have never seen such blatant tanking in the NFL since the suck for luck era, where the Indianapolis Colts went 4-12 and literally did everything in their power to lose out as much as they could. They went 4-12 that season. This Raiders team literally was one of the worst performances I've ever seen in my life. They did not try to win. They were choosing to lose. This is a team that sidelined Max Crosby and put him on IR. Max Crosby was so angry at it, he posted on Twitter videos of him playing basketball and jumping on a trampoline as he's claiming to be on IR. There has to be some semblance of conversation about collusion because the NFL has not seen this level of tanking. This is commonplace in the NBA, but this is not common in the NFL. The NFL is currently sitting here and like, okay, the Raiders clearly chose to lose this game. Great game by the Giants. They played well. Defense played well. Offense played well. But you're talking about the Raiders. The Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL. So are the Giants. The Giants should not have beat them by 24 points. This is one of the most blatant moments I've ever seen in my entire life of a team trying to tank to get the number 1 overall pick. I've seen teams lose themselves the number 1 overall pick, like the Texans, like the Jets. I've seen this happen before. I've played these games before. I know what happens. But the Raiders said, we're not going to give this first overall pick up. We are going to IR Brock Bowers. We are going to IR Max Crosby, who is not injured. He was not injured, and he showed that. He is clearly disgruntled. I would not be surprised if in the offseason we see Max Crosby request trade because he does not want to play for an organization that doesn't want to win. And that was what happened right there. Now we're going to move on to one of the games of the week. Let me tell you, even though it was a terrible game to watch, let me tell you, horrible game to watch. This game was not offensive heavy, but it was a defensive heavy game, raining in Philadelphia. And this game came down to the last play of the game. Josh Allen missed a pass. This is something that we rarely see where a player blatantly misses a pass that is Josh Allen, at the caliber of Josh Allen. I've never seen a team lose a game where their opponent did not complete a single pass in the second half and lose. The Eagles went into half, leading 13-0. The Bills pushed a comeback, went for 2 instead of taking the overtime chance. They decided, hey, we're going to go for 2. They went for 2, missed Khalil Shakir in the back of the end zone. Game's over. Eagles win. This was a game that the Bills needed to win to have a chance at the AFC East. The Patriots ended up winning as a result of this. But either way, what I will say, Bills are still going to be a competent playoff team. Eagles, I don't know. Depends on who they play. Depends on what team they end up playing, depending on their seeding. They could either be playing a Rams or a Niners or a Seahawks team, or they could be playing a Packers team. Who knows? Be interesting to see. Bears, 49ers. Brock Purdy is playing like one of the best players in the NFL right now. He is playing at an MVP level. If he was playing like this the entire season, he'd be the MVP, bar none. He has passed for 5 touchdowns. He's totaled 5 touchdowns in the past 2 games. He is playing like a madman, and he is the engine to this offense. This is one of the times where I will say this is the quarterback that's going to win them. If they're going to make the Super Bowl, this is going to be because of Brock Purdy, not because of his offense around him. There's always been questions about his caliber, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Bears need to win. They need to get that second seed, or else they are cooked, because they will end up playing a high-level NFC West team and not a Packers team. Rams, Falcons, instant classic. Bijan Robinson with 200 total scrimmage yards. Okay, this clock is menacing. We're going to keep it at 0 right now. I'm going to finish my little high horse. Matt Stafford threw for 3 interceptions. He's not going to win the MVP. This performance really, truly showed that he is not at the caliber that he has been playing at. And then when it comes to the Falcons, this team is a good team. Kirk Cousins is clearly the better quarterback this season. He has played at a much higher level than Michael Penix ever did when he was healthy. And Bijan Robinson and this offense played out of their minds. And I truly think that Kirk might actually be the better quarterback when it comes to the culture, when it comes to leading the guys. You see how this team plays with Kirk Cousins at the helm versus when you see Michael Penix at the helm. Just something to chew on as we get into the third quarter. But first, what's I'm going to do my little plug. Make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you turn on that notification bell so you're notified when I go live or when I post a new video. And make sure to follow my socials, red.pails. That's where you can find my play clocks, when you find my shorter form content, and where you can get my stories about when I'm coming live. So make sure to go follow my socials. Those should be, I believe, in the About page on GameClock Entertainment. And for those who are still watching, we might be starting a different show come February at the end of the NFL season. But that's for those of you to speculate on what I'll be doing there. But we're going to get started on the third quarter and the playoff picture. As I get down there, playoff picture, start the clock. We're going to talk about the playoff picture for 10 minutes. So currently the Broncos are the number 1 seed. I believe that technically it's the Patriots. It might still be the Broncos. But either way, Broncos are playing next week. I'm not exactly sure who. I believe it's the Chargers. Broncos still have a chance at the number 1 seed. So do the Patriots. Patriots, I believe, are playing not the New York Jets. They're playing the Miami Dolphins. The Broncos need to win to get this number 1 seed, to get that bye week. And whoever gets the bye week is going to need it because injuries pile up, and that week of rest is so impactful. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the NFL making that shift to only 1 bye week from 2 bye weeks, because I think that truly these players need rest. A lot of these players, if you had a week 4 bye week, you've been playing for 14 straight weeks. Some teams with short weeks with things like Thursday Night Football or Monday Night Football, these quick turnarounds, these players need rest. And the fact that the only week that we have that's a guaranteed rest, guaranteed bye week is the Super Bowl outside of that number 1 seed, it does make the number 1 seed more coveted, but I do believe that I think it was better when we had 2 bye weeks. That's my personal take. But regardless, as we get into it, in the AFC side, Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars, Texans, Chargers, Bills, all have clinched the playoffs. Now, what you're wondering, where's the number 4 seed? Number 4 seed is down here. It is going to be either the Steelers or the Ravens. The Steelers-Ravens are going to play each other this last game, and it is a win-or-go-home situation for both of these teams. And obviously, Mike Tomlin going to maintain that winning record, but this game matters way more than anything. If the Steelers had handled business, there would have been no chance that Lamar Jackson and the Ravens would have made it to the playoffs. But because, again, the Steelers cared more about stopping Myles Garrett from breaking the sack record than they did about winning this football game, the Ravens have a chance to make the playoffs. And right now, NFL is saying that there's a 60% chance the Ravens make it, because the Ravens are currently on a bit of a hot streak. Have been playing teams that are good teams, mind you. I mean, Green Bay is a playoff team, and they beat them 41-24. Obviously, without Jordan Love. Understandable. But regardless, this matchup matters so much to the outcome of not just the NFL, but the playoffs as a whole, because whoever that 4 seed is going to play the 5 seed. And the 5 seed's still up for grabs. You have the Texans, you have the Chargers, you have the Bills. That 5 seed is still up for grabs, and it is a race for the 5 seed, because whoever gets that 5 seed plays the Steelers or the Ravens, and I'm like, I want that bet. You don't want to be the 7th seed, because you're going to probably play the Patriots or the Broncos. Well, unless it's the Broncos, in which case I'd like the 7th seed. But regardless, whatever is said, plain and simple, playoff football is a different breed. And I take experience over youth a lot of times in the playoffs because teams have that experience in the playoffs, have time where they have succeeded in the playoffs. Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills are one of the scariest teams coming into the playoffs because you have Josh Allen. And Josh Allen is a competent and experienced playoff quarterback. When it comes to quarterbacks with playoff experience, with wins under their belts, the only team that has wins under their belts that is like, okay, this is a competent playoff team on the AFC side right now is Buffalo and the Texans with CJ Stroud. But neither are division winners. And that's the weird thing is that these teams that have been, these are going to be the teams that are going to be successful out in the playoff picture are the teams that I think are going to be successful, are going to be the teams with experience, with their experienced quarterbacks. And that's none of the teams that are division winners. So what I will say, Steelers, Ravens, if I am any team in the playoffs, I'm rooting for the Steelers because I want a Steelers matchup if you're that fifth seed. You do not want Lamar Jackson. Well, for some, you don't want Lamar Jackson in playoff situations because I think this Ravens team is a team that could be scary coming into the playoffs. The Steelers, not so much. So that's what I'll say about the AFC. Now we'll move to the NFC. Now the NFC is a different breed because right now we have one of the biggest games coming up for the NFC West. 49ers are going to be playing the Seattle Seahawks at Levi Stadium. Whoever wins that game gets the number 1 overall seed and the first week bye. It matters so much more to the San Francisco 49ers. And you may ask, Michael, why? Why does it matter so much for the 49ers? The Super Bowl is being played in San Francisco at Levi Stadium. If the 49ers win this game, get the number 1 overall seed, they will have home field advantage the rest of the NFL season. As long as they are winning games, they have home field advantage. That includes the divisional round. That includes the championship. That includes the Super Bowl. They will have home field advantage. You want to know the last time a team had home field advantage at the Super Bowl? It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's the only other time it's happened is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers played in Tampa and won at home against the Chiefs 31-9. If I am a betting man, I am saying, hey, Niners, this is a must-win situation because if you do not win this, there's a chance, one, you don't get that home field advantage. You're not even going to get home field at all. That'll be the last time you play in Levi Stadium for the rest of the season. But if they get home field advantage, they are the scariest team coming into the playoffs because they have home field advantage the rest of the season. But currently, Seattle sits atop at number 1. But if they lose to this Niners, bang, bang, Niner gang, they win the NFC West and get the number 1 seed. The Chicago Bears currently sitting at the number 2 seed. And right now, if I'm the Bears, it's a must-win situation next week. Because the Eagles are on their tail when it comes to that number 2 seed. That number 2 seed matters so much more. You might be asking, again, why? Well, I'll remind you, because I've said it 12 times, the NFC West has been a dominant conference. They've been one of the best divisions in the NFL this season. And if you are the 3 seed, you play the Rams, the Niners, or the Seahawks. You play one of those 3 teams. Obviously, we don't know which one yet, because there's still a chance that the Seahawks fall to the 6th seed and the Rams get up to the 5 seed. But after that loss to the Falcons, it's probably less likely. But either way, if you are a Bears fan or an Eagles fan, you want your team to win next week and you want the other team to lose. Because that number 2 seed plays the Packers. And the Packers are a team that's hurt, that's banged up, that does not have their star edge rusher, that does not have a lot of their key components to winning. And they don't have Jordan Love right now. And if they do get Jordan Love back, if Jordan Love comes back and is able to get back by the start of the playoffs, even still, this is the easiest team to play against compared to the other NFC West teams. So it matters a lot. But now I'll get on to the other win and in game. The Panthers against the Buccaneers. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Panthers do not need to win this game. If they win, they're in. Guaranteed. Plain and simple, they win, they are in. And that matters a lot because it means, okay, we're in control of our own destiny. If they lose, though, there's still a chance they make the playoffs. And you might ask, why? Well, there's a bit of a wraparound thing where if the Atlanta Falcons beat the New Orleans Saints, we will see the Panthers win the NFC South for the first time since 2015. For the first time since they played and won 15-1. They were 15-1 that season. And that's how they made the playoffs. So understand, Panthers fans, the team needs to win. If they win, they're in. No questions asked. But if I'm a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan and you win and you beat the Panthers, you become the world's biggest New Orleans Saints fans, which sounds terrible because I know that Buccaneers fans hate the New Orleans Saints. But if I'm a Buccaneers fan, you beat the Panthers, which I don't expect to happen. I think the Panthers are going to win this game. I think Panthers are going to handle business, have a winning record, make it in. I don't see that there being a world where we have this weird amalgamation of random things impacting other teams, because this happens often. There always is at least one team where it's like, oh, well, if we win and these other teams lose, we can make it in. The only one that is this situation currently is this divisions. We've rarely seen us going into last week where 6 teams are already shirred up and clinched in the playoffs, and we have 2 winning in games, which both teams are currently at that like 8-8, 9-7, 7-9 record. So either way, I will say, this has been one of the greatest NFL seasons when it comes to close games, close matchups, absolute cinema. We have had cinematic games every single week. And this playoffs is shaping up to be one of the best playoffs in modern memory. We are having a lot of talented teams making it. We're not going to have that random team that we're like, why are they here? Because every team, any given Sunday, can win. And I expect that for the number 1 seed, I'll talk about it once we get to my predictions for next week. But that number 1 seed's still not shored up. The 4th seeds for both sides is still not shored up. And that's what I love about the NFL, is that we still don't know who's going to be in the playoffs or who's going to be playing who. But let me tell you, it's going to be cinema. So, as the 3rd quarter ends, as my clock stops, and we move over to Week 18. That is the wrong way, sorry. I will start the clock. Put the 4s up, 4th quarter, 10 minutes, let's go. Okay, Week 18. First matchup we see is one of the biggest matchups when it comes to playoff implications. We have the Panthers playing the Buccaneers on Saturday. We don't have a Thursday night football game, and you might be asking why. Well, obviously, new year, new me. But I believe based off the way that the contracts are negotiated when it comes to broadcasting and media, the NFL does not have a Thursday night football game on the final week of the NFL season. So what we are seeing then is going to be Panthers, Buccaneers, and Seahawks 49ers playing on Saturday afternoon and evening games. Now, Panthers, Buccaneers. Panthers are going into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has a home field advantage. That's a huge deal. But let me remind you, Tampa Bay's home field advantage has not been a huge factor when it comes to their games. Tampa Bay lost to the Atlanta Falcons by 1 point with a game-winning field goal by Zane Gonzalez just a couple weeks ago at home. So, with the way that this Buccaneers team has been playing, with the way that the Panthers have been playing, I do have the Panthers winning this game, winning the NFC South, and making it to the playoffs. I don't think Baker's going to be able to will them to that, and even still, I think that there's still a chance the Falcons, with the way they've been playing, will be able to knock off the New Orleans Saints. Seahawks 49ers. Okay. This game is going to be one of the most important games when it comes to the playoffs. I've said that. I've reiterated that. This game is for all the marbles, as one could say. Which also, mind you, that saying's weird. But regardless, for all the marbles, for all the footballs, the Seattle Seahawks going into Levi Stadium to play against the 49ers. I have the 49ers winning this game. Brock Purdy has imposed his will on every team he has played in the last 3 weeks. He is, okay, technically he's responsible for 6 touchdowns last week, but 5 touchdowns technically, because he threw a pick 6. But 5 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 3 passing. This man is running around, hitting the Dougie, hitting a Euro step Dougie. I have never seen a quarterback who is more loose and free and looks like he is going to win an MVP, even though he's not an MVP candidate. I have never seen a player more poised to win a playoff game, win a Super Bowl than Brock Purdy does right now. Most people, a lot of the accusations for Brock Purdy has been, okay, Brock is a system quarterback, has been reliant on the system, has been reliant on the talent around him. They didn't have Trent Williams. They did not have George Kittle. CMC was not as explosive as he has been in past games. This was Brock Purdy's win. This was Brock Purdy playing out of his mind. And plain and simple, I think the 49ers win this game. Will it be by 42 points? Probably not. But with the caliber and the way that this team has been playing, with how disciplined this defense is under Robert Saleh, I have the 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks and getting that number 1 overall seed. Colts playing at the Texans. Texans, this matters a lot. This game, obviously, they're going to play against Riley Leonard. It was announced that the Indianapolis Colts are benching Phillip Rivers for this game. And the Texans are going to win this game. I think the Texans, top defense, obviously. Unless Riley Leonard put on some form of clinic of a rookie quarterback, this game is going to be won by the Texans. And this Texans team is going to be able to secure that 5th seed, which you want, because that means you're going to play either the Steelers or the Ravens, which is a big deal for this 5th seed. If I am a Bills fan, if I am a Chargers fan, you want the Texans to lose this game. But it's not going to happen. Texans are going to win this game at home in Houston. Browns at Bengals. The most significant thing about this game is that I believe Myles Garrett will finally break the sack record. He's currently tied, but he needs half a sack to break the sack record. The only reason he didn't break it was, again, I told you, the Steelers cared more about stopping Myles Garrett from breaking the sack record than they did anything else. And this offensive line of the Bengals is not going to be able to stop Myles Garrett. This game, though I want to say with the caliber that the Bengals have been playing at, this Browns defense is so much better than any defense they've played since Joe Burrow's back. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to lose this game at home in Cincy. I think that the Browns are going to win with Shedeur Sanders. Harold Fannin is still questionable, but will still probably be able to be back, I believe. This team is going to win. The Browns are going to win this game. Shedeur is going to hit him with the wrist watch and impose his will, along with Myles Garrett breaking the sack record in Cincinnati against Joe Burrow. Okay. Saints at Falcons. This game matters to Panthers and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Now, you might be asking, okay, why does this matter about Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans and Panthers fans? Well, I already obviously told you, if the Saints win this game, Tampa Bay, with a win, makes it. If the Saints lose this game and Tampa Bay wins, they still don't win the NFC South. It goes to the Panthers because of the merry-go-round winning tiebreakers. I think the Falcons win this game. Falcons played a fantastic game against a very high-level team against the LA Rams. They played outstanding, even though I think Tyler Shuck and the Saints team is really, really hot. I think that Bijan and Kirk Cousins and this offense has been playing at a high level. I honestly think of the afternoon slate might be one of the best games we're going to see. I think it's going to be the best game we're going to see in this afternoon slate because it's going to be a close game that matters. And I think that the Falcons are going to win this game. Kirk is going to continue to show why he should be the starter in Atlanta. And I think Bijan is going to go for another 200 scrimmage yards. So I think it'll be a close game, but at the end of the day, I think it will fall in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. I just realized I have so much less time than I realized. Okay, Packers, Vikings. Packers already clinched the playoffs, already kind of are guaranteed the 7th seed. I wouldn't be surprised if they rest starters and just kind of let their backups go. Vikings, I don't think win this game. I think it's going to be the Packers, even though it's in Minnesota. I still think the Packers are going to win this game, but I would not be surprised if we see rested starters for the Packers as they already are guaranteed the 7th seed. Titans, Jaguars. Titans going into Duval. Jags are going to win this game. Jags are still in somewhat technically in competition for the second seed. I don't think they actually are. They're guaranteed the 3rd seed. But either way, Jags will rest their starters, but I still think they beat the Titans. Cowboys at Giants. Cowboys win this game. Giants have not played very well. Giants also need to not win another game. If they win this game against the Cowboys, they drop out of being the number 2 pick to being possibly even the number 4 or 5 pick, and having teams like the Arizona Cardinals and other teams that are more needy jumping them. Cowboys win this game, handle business. Offense is better than the Giants. So if the Giants win this game, it's an absolute fumble by them. But regardless, that is where I will stay. I think the Cowboys win this game. Rams win this. If the Rams don't win this game, I don't know what to tell you. First off, the Cardinals need to lose because they want a high overall draft pick. Second, the Rams need to win this game because they are still in competition for that 5th seed. And that 5th seed plays the Panthers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that matters to them. So Rams should win this game. If the Rams don't win this game, it is an act of God. That is how bad the Cardinals have been and how good the Rams have been. If the Rams don't win this game, I genuinely think that God is acting out his sovereign will for the Cardinals to win this game because there is no other way the Cardinals win this game outside of an act of God. Okay. Chiefs at Raiders. I think Chiefs win this. The Raiders need to not win another game. The Raiders are going to obviously have shut down a lot of their key players and key contributors. So Chiefs will win this game even though they're on their 3rd string quarterback. It would be really funny if the Chiefs do lose this and the Raiders lose that number 1 overall pick because they win a game on accident. But Raiders are going to lose this game. They're clearly intentionally tanking. So that's what I'll say. Commanders at Eagles. Eagles win this game. Commanders are not a good team. Eagles will win this game, handle business, make sure they can secure and have a high chance at making that number 2 seed, which matters to them. Patriots at Dolphins. Patriots win this. I think Patriots will secure the number 1 overall pick with not number 1 overall pick, the number 1 seed with this pick. So that's what I will say about that and about this situation. I think the Dolphins with Kuhn Ewers have been great, but that will not be the key factor. So Patriots win this. Sorry, I'm rapid fire. I got 1 minute left. Oh no. Okay. Lions at Bears. Bears win this game. I think the Lions are clearly on the down tilt, and I don't think that they're going to be able to handle business against Chicago Bears, especially not at Soldier Field. The Bears are going to win this game, are going to secure the number 2 seed, and are going to be able to have a much better situation come playoff time. Chargers at Broncos. I think the Chargers knock off the Broncos in Mile High. I think the Broncos have not been playing well. I think the Chargers are going to be able to play an exceptional game. I think Justin Herbert will will this team to a higher overall seed and screw over the Broncos and make them not have that number 1 seed and give it to the Patriots. Jets, Bills. Jets at Bills. Buffalo wins this game. Hands down, bar none. No question. There's no question in my mind that they win this game. If they already know that they're going to be getting the number 7 seed, I would not be surprised if we see a rested Josh Allen. Ravens, Steelers. Ravens win this game. I think the Ravens win the AFC North and make it to the playoffs. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that has been Game Clock. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Okay, stop. Sorry, my timer went back off. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope to see you guys next week here on Game Clock. Thank you for watching. Good evening and good night.